For centuries, the search has been on for the lost city of Atlantis. Now, a group of scientists, archaeologists, and historians embarked on the most extensive search ever to answer this 2,000-year-old question. Using ancient writings and the latest underwater technology, their goal was to unlock the secret to this mystery. Leading the mission was award-winning director, producer, and investigative journalist Simcha Jacobovici, and Oscar-winning Canadian filmmaker and deep-sea explorer James Cameron. Simcha joins us right now in studio. I have been excited for this since it popped on my radar just a few days ago. Congratulations. I got to ask you,
Discovery, 8 o'clock Sunday.
Discovery, 8 o'clock on Sunday, absolutely. For people who know anything about Atlantis, most people know pop culture references. Aquaman, Stargate Atlantis, the sci-fi. Mermaids. But there's real history behind this, isn't there?
Absolutely. That's what we went to. James Cameron, he's the most successful filmmaker on the planet, but he dove deeper than any other human being that ever lived. So marine exploration is serious for him. And what we wanted to know is their history behind the myth. And, it was a fantasy adventure. You get to play Indiana Jones with Cameron as your mission director. It was amazing.
But I have to ask you, it must take a courage, and you have to be a very compelling person to convince a lot of people and get a lot of money to go on what could have ended up being a wild goose chase.
That's right. But you see, we had a treasure map. People think of Disney when they think of Atlantis. But really, there's only one source, Plato. 3,400 years ago, he actually gives us a description. So if you play the modern Sherlock Holmes, you can create a list of suspects. Is it in Greece? Is it in Malta, Sardinia, in Spain? Do you dive here? Do you dive there? So we created that kind of suspect list, and we went.
Okay, without giving everything away, what did you discover that we didn't previously know?
I think we pretty much, first of all, realized that we're not talking about one place. We're talking about a civilization. And we have wow moments. We show stuff that's older than the pyramids, And we also dove. We went into a cave in Spain. We used spectral photography. It showed us an ancient treasure map. X marks the spot. We dove there and we found, you gotta watch.
Yeah, you gotta watch. So you filmed for 51 days, but it seems like this is one of those things where you have to go from point to point. Wherever the next point leads you, that's where you go. So how did you...
Well, it's really a detective story.
Yes, but how do you plot this out? How do you plot out a 51-day shoot where you don't know where you're going to be where you're going to be going?
Well, we had an idea that we're going from east to west. We knew what the most popular theories were. We got the best scholars, so we started plotting the thing. We didn't know where to dive. The diving and it was scary. Because you got to come up with something.
Yeah, well, exactly.
People are giving you a lot of money. James Cameron saying so.
Yeah.
But I think that what we found is compelling. We found evidence that there is history behind the myth. We also found, incredibly, evidence that ancient man, 3,500 years ago, sailed into the Atlantic. Most people think they just hugged the shores. They didn't have real boats. We found concrete evidence that just as Plato says about Atlantis, there was a navy on the Atlantic side of the Strait of Gibraltar.
Simcha, you mentioned spectral photography, and I saw a little bit on the clips online. James Cameron is known for pushing the limits of technology. In fact, inventing the technology that he will need to do things that have never been done before. So what kind of toys did you get to play with to make this documentary?
Well, wasn't it amazing? We shot on land, we shot in the air. Using drone photography, you could see stuff that you couldn't do with helicopters before. We shot underwater with the best divers in the world. And one of the great sights today on your news, you said this
Is
place
there a window?
Is there a window collapsed into the water? We shot it. And that's proof positive that stuff that's there today is suddenly underwater tomorrow, just like Atlantis.
Before we go to break and before we end this, and by the way, I could talk to you all day.
By the way, I love this stuff. This is you get to play Indiana Jones for real life,
James Cameron, what does he bring to this project what would the project have looked like if he hadn't been part of it?
Everything, because he's not just kind of lending his name. I'm the most successful filmmaker on the planet.
He's not someone who phones things in, is he?
No. He knows his stuff in a way that I don't know myself. I mean, he knows underwater stuff. So he brings content, discipline, skepticism, and of course, his incredible talent.
Simcha, movies like this, stories like this, adventures like this are some of the most exciting things on TV. You do it as well as anybody else. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait to see the show. Thanks for coming in and sharing your story today.
Pleasure to be here.
And you can catch Atlantis Rising Sunday, March 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern on Discovery.